Hello once again, Niner Faithful, and welcome to any Falcons fans that may be joining us today. This video is coming out a day later than normal, and to be honest, I was still trying to come to grips with a painful loss, and so I didn't watch the film as quickly as I normally would. While watching how our team was able to beat the Saints is great, it's also good sometimes to see why and how we lost games. So first, I'll talk about the defense. I've seen a lot of fans upset with Robert Saleh and how he allowed Julio Jones to completely wreck the game. While Saleh definitely had a hand in the game, we also have to keep a few things in mind. First, Julio Jones is a generational talent and might be the best receiver of this decade, so slowing him down is not a simple task, no matter what the defensive call is. Second, the 49ers coverage unit has been decimated by injuries. I know every team deals with injuries, but 4 of our 7 coverage guys were backups, and it showed. While we've enjoyed seeing a good marriage of pass rush and coverage, this game did not. When the pass rush got quick pressure, the coverage failed. When the coverage held up, the pass rush was non-existent. Give credit to Atlanta and their coaching staff. They were able to dial up some well-timed calls to put their team in a position to win. As far as the offense goes, I'm as big of a believer in Jimmy G and Kyle Shanahan as there is. However, Kyle has to call a better game, and Jimmy has to execute better. Dan Quinn should have been very familiar with Kyle and his play calling. However, the level at which it seemed the Falcons knew the 49ers plays before they were ran was shocking on some plays. The offensive line also played one of the poorer games on the year, giving up pressure on crucial plays in the game. In all, as a 49er fan, it's hard not to look at the game and think of what might have been and what was left on the table. However, they still control their own destiny, and hopefully the team will start to get some much-needed reinforcements back soon. With all that, let's jump into the film. I'm going to start out with the defense and answer the question many have been asking. Why didn't Saleh double Julio? The answer is, he did. Sometimes Atlanta came with well-designed calls and our players did not execute their assignments. Here, it's 3rd and 3, and Atlanta is going to come out with 2 different passing concepts. First, they're going to run a smash concept to the bottom, which works well against cover 2, which the 49ers run a lot in the red zone. And then they're going to run a mesh concept with Julio Jones and a wide receiver coming across, which works well against man coverage as it creates a pick-rub action. They further this pick-rub action by flaring Devontae Freeman out into the flat. We're going to be in man coverage with Witherspoon on Julio and then double him with Ward from his safety position. Harris will then double any vertical route to his side. Greenlaw is on Freeman, and at the snap, he steps forward. What he's got to do here is understand if the running back is flaring out, the potential for pick action. You'll often see players communicating this to each other. That's usually what they're doing when they turn in and you see them crossing their arms or signaling to be alert for crisscrossing routes so they don't get picked. Here, Greenlaw steps up and into Witherspoon's angle of attack. So Spoon has to come under Greenlaw, and now has no angle to cut off Julio. He's in a full trail position. It's then furthered by the shallow crossing route. Ward wasn't in any position to double Julio on this type of route, so it's an easy pitch and catch for a first down on a drive that would end in a touchdown. So now it's another big 3rd down. It's 3rd and 5. We're going to be in man coverage again, with Harris being a deep safety away from Julio, and Ward will help DJ Reed double Julio, who is in the slot. From here, the Falcons are going to run an Ohio concept to the top, with Austin Hooper running an out route against Dre Greenlaw. With Julio doubled, this is going to put Greenlaw in space versus the tight end, which Matt Ryan identifies as a mismatch and gets the first down. Greenlaw has been solid this year, but he's no Quan Alexander in coverage. Having him isolated in space versus a quality tight end is not something you want very often or on crucial 3rd downs. However, your options are limited if you're going to double Julio Jones. On yet another crucial 3rd down, Atlanta is going to get another big gain to Julio Jones. With Greenlaw out wide on a running back, it reveals man coverage. From here, Atlanta is going to run another mesh concept with Julio. This time it will be Austin Hooper and the outside receiver running interference. However, Saleh adjusts his call to beat this play. We simply don't execute this well at all. We're actually going to double Julio from across the field with Ward. This way, we should have someone sitting on a crossing route from him. At the snap, you'll see Witherspoon is going to play soft with outside leverage. That's an understanding of his help from across the field. The problem is Ward doesn't read what's happening in front of him very well. He attacks as if Jones is going to run over Hooper's route and takes a sharper angle of attack. In doing so, he runs himself into the second interference route, cutting himself off from the shallow cross, while Witherspoon has to go over the top of Hooper's route. By the time Ward recovers, Jones has already won, and the throw and catch are as easy as it gets in the NFL, and they get a huge pickup on third down in the fourth quarter on a drive that ends in a touchdown to make the score 17-19. This play should never happen. Saleh made the right call. Players have to execute. So to answer the question, we did double Julio. It just didn't work. Another question I've seen is, why didn't Saleh blitz? Well, he did. We just got burned. Here, we're going to come with a cover 1 blitz with a deep middle safety. This is on the last drive of the game, by the way. Atlanta puts Julio in close, and they're going to run a slot drive concept here. We have Ward on Julio. At the snap, Ward plays very soft and to his help. I understand he's trying not to get caught up in a pick-rub play here, but he gives up the entire intermediate middle of the field. We tried to run a stunt up front, and props to Atlanta's O-line because they handled it perfectly. So it's an easy pitch and catch for Ryan and Jones. From there, Harris takes another bad angle on the receiver. This is exactly the same thing he did in the Saints game. He's got to get his head out in front of the receiver. You're not going to make a tackle with your head on the wrong side. Since he can't bring him down, Julio is able to pick up an extra 13 yards after contact. Considering that we lost by about 8 inches, that 13 yards was huge. Another thing that hurt us was the inexperience of our guys. They poorly executed when they were trying to disguise coverage. Here, we're going to start out in our wide 9 alignment with Marcel Harris in the box. If you watched my video on the Saints game, you will remember me talking about run fits and how the safety is responsible for the C-gap. Harris tries to time out his drop as he's going to drop deep and we're going to run cover 2. This kind of disguise worked really well against Aaron Rodgers, but it has to be timed out really well. Harris doesn't time it out, and Ryan catches him dropping. From there, Harris just needs to give it up. You've been had, so just go to your deep drop. Trying to disguise again is going to put you in a bad position. Ryan checks the play, and what he's going to do is check to a power play into the C-gap or the 6-hole from the offensive perspective. Remember the run fits? Ryan understands this too, so seeing the safety vacate the C-gap, he calls a run right into it. You can still fill the gaps from the defense, but the run fits for the linebackers change. Instead of a 1-gap scheme, they are now responsible for 2 gaps, depending on which way the run goes. If it's to the strong side, Greenlaw will have the C gap, and Warner the strong side A. If it's a weak side run, Greenlaw will have the strong side A, and Warner the weak side B. This means that linebackers have to be sure the run won't be a counter before attacking their gap. It just makes the linebackers react a little slower. This was the type of defense I played in when I was a linebacker in high school, where you had 2 different gaps you were responsible for depending on the direction of the run. Buckner gets blown out of his hole as he assumes it's a pass on 2nd and 17. And with Harris in a backpedal at the snap, he can't come downhill and attack the run play. We give up an 11-yard run that ends up putting Atlanta in field goal position. This kind of thing happens several times, where players were caught trying to disguise their coverage and gave it away too quickly. Mosley got caught in a bail technique twice, which let Ryan change the play to quick outs to Jones for 8 and 9-yard gains. Lastly, on defense, we'll talk about the game-losing play, or the game-winning play, depending on which team you're from. This play made me so upset after the game. I called it before it happened. I turned to my wife and I said, they're going to run Hooper vertical and Julio underneath. Why did I know that? Because I'd seen Atlanta run it when I was scouting them this week. If I can see it, why can't our own guys see it? It's also frustrating because this is a common thing teams do. But we're in man coverage and we're going to double the receivers. The way we double is meant to protect against option routes, like the one Kittle ran to beat the Saints the week before. So you have players bracketing receivers. Ward and Reed will bracket the receiver to the top, and Harris and Mosley will bracket Jones. However, Hooper is going to run interference on Harris, who can't get around the route, and Julio is wide open. How should we have played this combo? Well, let's go back and look at a perfect example that everyone should be familiar with. 2014 Seahawks-Patriots in the Super Bowl. they're going to run the same thing. Interference with a route underneath. Browner understood what was coming and jams his guy, and Malcolm Butler didn't hesitate in attacking the route. In our case, we got neither a jam, and Harris doesn't attack the route inside. Well, that's enough of the defense. Now we'll jump to the offense and see why the offense struggled in the game. There's not a lot to show because really a lot of it was just sloppy play or examples of what I'm about to show. Here, we're going to run a clearing route from Bourne, a chip and release and a second clearing route from Deebo Samuel, and run an out-in route from Sanders. Kittle will then be on an in-out route, where he'll sell an in route at 7 to 8 yards and break out. Atlanta is going to feign a blitz off Kittle's side, and then bring a blitz off the 3 receiver side, and be in cover 1 with help on Kittle. This isn't technically a blitz as it's just a 4-man rush. As Jimmy drops back, he sees man coverage and wants to hit Kittle. However, the safety help on that side never bites on an inside move and looks to sit on Kittle's route, breaking back out. On the backside, we just have 2 clearing routes, and Sanders doesn't win on his. With the pocket breaking down and nowhere to go with the ball, Jimmy tries a desperation throw to Kittle, which falls incomplete. And we get a holding call on Coleman. On this play, Atlanta is both going to confuse Jimmy and pick up on Kyle's call. We're going to run a smash concept at the bottom with Kittle and Sanders, and then also run a shallow cross concept with Coleman and Deebo. I've covered the smash a lot, so I won't this week, but the shallow cross is where you have a shallow crossing route and a dig or deep in route. This creates a vertical stretch of the defense, primarily the hook defender in a cover 2. The out route from Kendrick Bourne will look to occupy the cloud defender, while the corner route from Sanders should look to occupy the middle defender as they often read the 3 receiver side first. Atlanta shows a single safety pre-snap, but times out their rotation well and are going to shift into a Tampa 2 defense and drop a lineman into the short middle where the Tampa is weak. This is 3rd and short, by the way. Jimmy wants to go to Coleman first on the shallow crosser, but it's taken away by the defensive lineman. He then works a smash, but look how aggressive the safety played the corner route. Right at the snap, he shot out to take away the corner route. He knew it was coming. From there, Jimmy looks to get the ball out to Kittle, but he's bracketed and it falls incomplete. We actually would have had Deebo open on the shallow crossing concept, as the hook defender attacked Coleman's route, and you can see how the vertical stretch works. That play is on Jimmy and Kyle. Jimmy has to see the late rotation of the safeties and work the shallow cross concept, and Kyle needs to be less predictable. Next, it's 3rd and 11, and we have a chance to convert, but we just don't execute. We're going to run a divide concept with Bourne and Deebo. Atlanta is again going to be in a Tampa 2. As the play develops, you'll see Deebo beats the Tampa defender and looks to break open for a first down. Jimmy wanted to go there, but before Samuel could get into his break, the pocket collapsed. Person and McGlinchey get driven back into Jimmy so quick he doesn't have time to hit the route and has to check it down to George Kittle. This was another crucial drive in the 4th quarter. If we can hit this first down, we're able to drain more time off the clock and potentially score a touchdown instead of kicking a field goal. It's plays like this that decide a game. Well, that's it for this week, guys. Just one recap video. I know it was a lot to cover, but I felt like we weren't going to be up for multiple videos examining a loss. I do feel better because a lot of these things are correctable by either coaching or getting reinforcements back. In everything, we're still 11-3, still have a shot at the number 1 seed, and are still a good football team. The sky isn't falling, even though it feels like it sometimes. Well, thanks for tuning in, and if you'd like to support the channel in any way, I'll have links for that below. Like and subscribe if you liked what you watched, and turn on your notifications if you'd like to keep up with more content that will be coming out before and after each game the rest of the way. We're still headed for the playoffs for the first time in a long time, and I'm excited to see where we go from here. As always, go Niners.